Ladies and gentlemen, let's RedGamer.com video. Let us discuss further the blatant misuse of the YouTube copyright system, particularly when it comes to negative reviews and coverage. This time, the issue comes to us from Cobra Studios. So they've actually even issued a copyright strike to Jim Sterling's YouTube channel. Now, Jim, of course, is the host of, well, Jimquisition, as well as a pretty regular contributor on this Escapist, and I don't really think I need to introduce him to many of you. But Cobra Studios has given him a copyright strike because he didn't take too kindly to their title, which would be Island Light. Now, what has happened is that he and other YouTubers, there's actually a couple of them, have actually received copyright strikes because they've basically given negative reviews or comments or featured a negative commentary on the game. And this isn't the first time that we're actually having these issues from indie developers. Say what you like about the larger studios, generally speaking, they're going to maybe give you a copyright strike, or they're going to give you a third-party match because they just don't want you to monetize their gameplay footage, which, to be honest, is pretty retarded considering it's free advertising. There have been a couple of incidents, for example, with Sega. You can ask Total Biscuit in regards to this. He's actually had a couple of run-ins with Sega, and that's actually one of the reasons he no longer covers the game. But that's quite a long story in and of itself. In this case, however, it's not because they don't feel you should monetize their game because of copyright issues. In fact, this is an altogether different kettle of fish. This kettle of fish is quite simply the perspective of censorship. And in fact, many indie developers are absolutely fine with you showing their footage. In fact, many of them actually actively embrace it, so I don't want you to go with this assumption that indie studios equal assholes, because that's not what it is. It's a simple case of the loudest majority pretty much give you the bad press, and then the bad press, of course, is what, generally speaking, goes in the headlines. So in this incident, Jim is, of course, actively fighting the copyright strike. He's not just willing to just be chilling, which I don't blame him. The whole purpose of critique is to let you know, as a consumer, this is a good game or this is, well, adversely a bad game. So I would recommend the following. I would also recommend, if you do hear about this behavior, and this is from you as a customer, you don't just sit on the sidelines. You do become involved. There are multiple reasons behind this. One, you're supporting your favorite YouTubers or your favorite internet personalities, if that's really a thing. But the biggest thing is actually you're protecting your own rights. So what you don't want is situations where companies like this can get away with it, because they'll do it more and more. And in fact, it's not just YouTube that this is becoming an issue for. In fact, Steam's own forums, there are, quite frankly and quite honestly speaking, issues with the way that they are, or comments rather, are moderated. And in fact, creators of games have often been, well, caught in the act, to be quite honest, with actually deleting an absolute bucket load of comments or negative threads surrounding their game. And before we actually wholeheartedly place the blame solely on this one studio, it's not. There have been multiple games and incidents like this before. Garry's Incident, for example, is one of them. Well, actually, to give it its full name, Day One Garry's Incident. And, of course, we have games like Guise of the Wolf. Once again, unfortunately for Total Biscuit, he has been on the brunt end of that. And there are other games as well, and other YouTubers as well, who have been negatively impacted by this. And this is a really bad thing, because, quite honestly speaking, if you have your voice silenced as a critic, or you cannot actually have free speech as a critic, that is just really shitty, to be honest with you, from the perspective of the customer. If there is a if there's a gameplay breaking bug rather, if there are inherent flaws with the gameplay mechanics, if the graphics, for example, just crash on a particular graphics card, if there are major issues with the artificial intelligence, if it dies on Windows 8 or doesn't run on, let's say, an earlier version of Windows, if it has problems with a certain amount of CPU cores, if it has issues with, say, prolific online DRM, whatever the cause, whatever the case, even if it's on console, the bottom line is we, as customers, and this goes for me as well, because I don't get all games for free. Some of them I do, some of them I have to pay for out of my own bloody money. And in those cases, I often will look at reviews. I will look at other YouTubers. I might look at Total Biscuit. I might have a look at even Yartz's reviews sometimes. The bottom line is I will take note of what other critics are saying, because we're all part of this community together, and support is vital. It is inherently vital for us as consumers, it is important for us as critics, and it is important for us as bloody well paying members of the gaming community to make sure that we get the best deals possible. And the really, really ironic part of all this, and you might have heard of this before, not only has the developer actually taken down the title from their Steam page, which is kind of ironic, but the reason behind all of this is because apparently they've stolen the art from a deviant user which they've used in their game logo. And this isn't the first time that we've actually caught indie developers or smaller developers or developers as a whole actually basically flagrantly disregarding their own copyright, or rather the rules of copyright, stealing someone else's work, and then basically putting it into the game and charging money. Now, as I said, you know, YouTube law when it comes to Let's Plays and so on, it's really down and up in the air, but when a studio is pretty much trying to silence the perspective of critics and issuing these strikes and actually trying to ban people on forums and calling people trolls in some cases because they dare to point out something's wrong, and this has actually happened. There have been studios who have called other users who have called the game sucky, basically trolls. It's just really, well, excuse the language, but it's pretty fucked up. Anyway, I could do an entire rant video about this, and I'm really tempted to get the Photoshop crayons out, but unfortunately, it is the PlayStation 4 that will be getting the brunt of my next terabyte video, and yes, it is coming. I did the Xbox One, and so we cannot let the PlayStation 4 remain with some degree of clemency, can we? We have to attack it. It has to be ready at dawn, if you excuse the pun for my offense. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I got a little bit ranty there, but whatever. I'm sure you guys are probably used to it by now if you're used to the channel, and if you're not used to the channel, well, you bloody well are now. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.